we go. That's what it was.
Okay, interesting. I wasn't getting any feedback.
Oh, I was getting
Good
double
here.
time down here. Okay. So yeah, so Mark, so like what we do here, this is kind of our little podcast thing that we're trying to do. We've had some very interesting people on here so far. We've had a couple of the groups that you've played with when we went down to Skyline. We're going to bring Skyline up quite a bit of the time here. We try and keep our segments down to about 30 minutes. And what I do is I screen record this, and then we post it up to our Lil-Sur-Mer field report page after we get home, because it takes about an hour to download and some stuff. We have to have 100 followers and all that before we can actually do a Facebook Live, and we've got to be active for 60 days as well. So
yeah, which we should be at now.
Yeah, we should be coming up to about 60 days, but we haven't quite got the followers there yet. So we are pushing for that. But for everybody that doesn't know, Mark is our guest here tonight. I've got to. It's a friendship that has been formed over one day of paintball, or one weekend of paintball, eh?
Yeah, I think we had 2 days, maybe 2.5.
2.5 days, yeah.
Yeah.
And how many years ago was it?
Oh man, 8, 9, 10, 12. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Been a while. It was before COVID, so there's an anchor there before COVID. A couple years before COVID, and then Skyline kind of dwindled during COVID or after COVID. At least that was my impression as I watched the ongoings from Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID kind of killed it a lot for a lot of fields. So we're still trying to build back up, and this is one idea, even though we're so many years out of COVID now, that we're trying to build up. So yeah, but a little bit of other background on our history. Mark, you played on the same team as us down at Skyline.
Yeah, I did.
And it just seemed to be wherever we went, we were together.
Well, that's because you kept pulling my butt out of the fire. If I remember correct, I kept putting myself in unhealthy paintball situations, and you rolled in with a gun that was pretty amazing in those days, and kind of cleared the way for me to get out without taking the round and doing the walk of shame back to the spawning area.
I just remember it was every time we came across each other, it's like, Mark, watch your back, 2 o'clock, and we'd have to take somebody out. Or Mark, watch your back, there's somebody over there. It was like,
yeah.
And then we got together that evening and had quite a few beers together.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and then and this is my angst over that. Then you guys let me sleep through the Northern Lights because I went to bed early, and the next morning you guys are all raving about how cool it was, and I'm thinking, how cool what was? And they're like, the Northern Lights, they were everywhere, they were beautiful, it was fantastic, and I'm like, dude, I slept through the whole thing.
Well, we can't really help it the lightweight.
Well, I guess when you're old, you sleep, so I guess.
Well, yeah, we weren't that old there, so I don't think you've got that to fall back on.
Probably not. Yeah, I was still doing. I think I just retired from my big cop job, and I think I was just dabbling in some other law enforcement part-time jobs. So yeah, I still had a little mileage left on me.
Yeah, and you wasn't used to Canadian beer either, so you're drinking the watered-down American version.
Maybe some Swedish guy could just roll in and keep up with you guys, but. Yeah, I learned pretty quick. Yeah, that's not a thing an American guy should venture into very quickly. It's it's got to be culture.
I mean, how many was there? How many of the American guys were there down there? I remember Reggie.
Yeah. Oh, Reggie, and I haven't spoken to Reggie. Yeah, he was a class act. I like that guy.
Yes. Yeah.
I was impressed that. Yeah, I was impressed that it was mostly a Canadian gig. And that was the interesting part to me. I'm not sure if I ever explained why I was there, because I'm not a paintball player per se, but in my pursuit of learning more about how to conduct uh, training operations, large-scale training operations, and manage the logistics that are associated with that, I thought, sooner or later I need to drag myself out to a real big paintball event and watch them. So I was kind of an industrial spy in many regards, but having a great time. I played paintball a little bit, but I did more than my fair share of using 68 caliber marking guns for learning, training, and trying to fill in the gaps where
Yeah.
generally range practice falls short. I saw paintball as the way to do that, and nowadays there's a lot more options than there were back when I started. But anyway, that's kind of the reason I was there. So, but I fell in love with the clan, and certainly the experience. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I think that was the year that you came. We probably had about 100 people down there at Skyline. I think it was a full crowd.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it was a big crowd
Yeah.
by all standards. Anything I'd experienced. Now, since that time, when airsoft caught on in the States, I did the exact same thing. I went to a West Coast blah 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 airsoft event. In fact, I think I went to two of them for the same reason, to see how they did things. And it's always struck me as very interesting, the difference between the airsoft community and the
Yeah.
paintball community, even though I understand that many of them intersect. There's guys that were old paintball players that are doing airsoft, and guys that are doing airsoft and then jump into paintball on the weekends. So I understand there's some cross contamination, but it did strike me as interesting that there are some distinctive differences between the airsoft community and the 68 caliber paintball community.
Very much. We pointed that out. One of our first segments on here was with some guys that run an event on our field called Op Havoc Wind, and I've always said there is such a large difference between the paintball player and the airsoft player. Airsoft can be more tactical. They will play as a squad, and they will play as a squad for a 4-hour game. Whereas if we ask paintballers to go on the field for 4 hours, it's almost kind of unheard of. We unless you've got the real hardcore batch, that's not a normal thing in the paintball world. And I kind of envy them for that, because I like that 4-hour gameplay or the 5-hour gameplay when you can go out there for that long. But it is what it is, and we play it the way that we do. That we do it. That's like when we do the tactical challenge. The guys that we have come to the tactical challenge were always the guys that we met down at Skyline, and they both complemented each other, the games that we played, because Skyline was deep woods. It was thick trees, thick bush, and then once they come up to our field, to the little town, Lil-Sur-Mer, it's all house to house, and it's all trenches. So I really wish you could have come up and tried some of our games up here. Maybe one year you come up and you just come up as an observer and come up for a holiday, and
I like that.
Yeah, I'd love to get you up here, Mark. I mean, the friendship that we've forged here. I never thought would happen over one weekend. And I want to tell everybody out here, because I want to go into some of the stuff that you actually sent up here and why you sent stuff, or we came down to see you. With the training and the stuff that you did down there with the human trafficking, I've looked into a bit of that, and I didn't realize how rife that was, and how much more it's got. So I think you was a pioneer when you started doing this like 10 years ago or whatever, and you explained how you used to do it. I never thought it was as big as what it was. When you invited us to come down, you said what you really liked what we did on our field on the tactical challenge, and you watched some of this stuff. And it complemented what you did down there. But you'd had the stuff in storage for, I think you said since you'd come up here.
Yeah, a big chunk of it was. We utilized some of it off and on, but that was definitely our heyday. And there's a reason
Yeah,
for that, um, a business reason for that. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
yeah. I'm going to go over some of this stuff. We've got some of it here. I pulled some of the stuff that I could find because like it's almost it's deep winter up here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cold outside, and I spent a little bit of time back there in hospital, so I've lost track of some of the stuff. The first one I want to bring up, and I don't have it here, is those aluminum TIPX or TPX shrouds that you got.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about them and where you got them from.
Well, I would love to, and I don't want to go back too far, but there's a historical point. I was chasing around the perfect pistol to be used in police and SWAT and security training. And in that endeavor, this is like in 1980. I couldn't find anything. There was no. There was the Splatmaster. You remember the
Yeah,
old big green? In fact, I think I handed a couple of those off to you for
yeah, you did.
nostalgia.
Yeah,
And there was certainly the PGP, which was an industrial marking pistol that was used to tag trees. And yep, there you go. Best pistol ever made. If you can just live with one shot, pump, one shot, pump, one shot, pump. Really a nice piece of gear. So I went to a company called Line SI, and I found a guy named Jerry Dobbins. Jerry Dobbins took a double action rifle and started configuring them as a pistol for us, and
yeah.
then we make oversized holsters, and then we had to kind of brief the police officers how this gun would work in contrast to their duty firearm. And then Jerry Dobbins disappeared. And I finally found him again, and he had quit his job in Colorado working for this paintball company. And I don't remember the name, but I remember they had a Harley Davidson-esque logo that I always thought was going to cause him a problem because Harley Davidson's kind of picky about that stuff. But nevertheless, uh, the guy who owned the company, Jerry was the engineer, not the owner. Um, they parted ways, and it turns out he moved to Idaho. And I'm like,
Oh,
dude, I'm teaching right out of Boise. And he's like, I live like 5 miles from Boise. So I got a
really?
hold of Jerry Dobbins. He started a company called Black Cat, uh, and he made the Puma and a bunch of. I started doing some artwork
Yeah.
for him, and he just gave us like 10 or 11 pistols, and said, bring them back anytime. We'll service them. We'll make them. I mean, he was a sweetheart. So we ran several years. Now this once again is early mid 80s, so not a lot of traces out there. And he just dedicated himself to keeping our project, training cops and security guys and gals. He just committed to keeping it running. And later on, when pistols became more prolific, i.e., the TP, the TPX, and another one that came out of Utah, I forget. Um, but nevertheless, when that came out, we started dinking around with kind of refining that, and that's where that aluminum body came from. He just
Yeah.
said, "I'm doing something in the shop. You need to see it," and he made it and then gave it to me. And when I came to the end of my training sojourn, it just seemed like it would be much more suited in your hands, and maybe find its way back onto a field because
Yeah.
a lot
I
of guns just haven't been used.
Yeah, they're so clean and immaculate,
Yeah,
unlike anything
yeah,
that I've got.
yeah. Unfortunately, they are. And I've always kind of held that if somebody's going to donate something or you're going to buy something, you have kind of an ethical, moral responsibility to get it in the field, get it used,
Yeah,
and let it do what it was meant to do. And that gun was meant to fire a 68 caliber projectile and tag somebody and make them sad. So
I've asked on a couple of the Titman forums and stuff like that if anybody had ever seen one, and everybody's commented. I think you commented on there on one of the forums, and I didn't even know you was on there. But you commented on, yeah, they were made specifically for you and the training that you guys were doing, and I've probably got the only three in existence. I
yeah,
mean, and they are fantastic. I just love the uniqueness of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jerry Dobbins, I wish Jerry, if you can get Jerry to do one of these for you,
Yeah.
he'll take you on an interesting walk through the world of paintball in the 80s, 90s, and 200s.
Yeah.
He's a big time machine shop guy, so he's got lots of projects that don't include paintball, but he does have a passion for paintball.
Does he?
Yeah.
I'd love to get hold of him. I'd love to chat with him. I'm sure he wants to get hooked up with one of his old girlfriends, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If you behave yourself, I'll later on in the week I'll send you his contact information, and I'll
Oh,
touch
fantastic.
base with him.
Yes. I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely love to. There's another couple here that I want to show you. I am going to save the best one till last. Um, but you've got a couple of SL68s. Well, there's more than a couple there. This is another old beauty, eh?
Well, let me tell you about the SL68 and then the later kind of plastic version that came out, and I forget the marking, but I had them painted in bright colors for a particular training reason. We decided early on that we didn't need to train the bad guys. The bad guys were usually off-duty police officers or SWAT team guys, and they were portraying an aggressive personality and a dangerous character. So we didn't want to put a gun that might be finicky or even a gun that might be overpowered in their hand and have them just wreak havoc. So we decided we were going to look at pump guns as if they were pump shotguns or guns that weren't top of the line, but we wanted something extremely durable and reliable. And so those SLs all became the bad guy guns.
Yeah.
And they worked out very well as the bad guy guns. Because once again, you're trying to create an environment where if a SWAT team guy steps into the hallway too early and he gets hit, then you have a medical component that you have to work. You have to drag him out and treat him. But if if you've got a young SWAT team and you've got a veteran bad guy who jumps out and shoots the entire team,
Yeah.
the training kind of goes to poop, and you
It
scratch your
does.
head. Yeah, we need to fix that. So yeah, the SL guns were dedicated to the bad guy guns, and we loved them.
Yeah.
Very little maintenance. If I praise Tipman for their engineering.
And this is even before Titman started to put their name on anything. I mean, all I've got on here is SL682 and the serial number 44499.
Yeah.
There's no Titman on it at all, and you wouldn't get that now. Titman want to plaster their name over actually everything that they're putting out.
And
But
I'll bet you a big Canadian beer, that still works.
yes. Oh.
Yes. They're so simplistic and so reliable.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's still a few more of these. I just wanted to pull a few of them out. There's also, I haven't seen these for a good number of years. These came out, I think, pretty much when we first started paintball. When we first started paintball. Are you dying, Twin?
Probably.
The Goblin Deuce, and the Goblin Solo.
So they've got a sad story behind them, and I don't have the conclusion, and I pray for the best. But we contacted the guy that was making those, and we were having police officers that weren't doing adequate searches. So we wanted to put a marking gun in the bad guy's hand that could be hidden in a big sloppy coat or a pair of baggy pants. And if they failed to do a good search, that after the security component within a contact was over, and you go kind of administrative and say, where do you live? What are you doing? What's going on tonight? Who called the police? Let me see your knuckles and see if you got blood on them. Those kind of moments. We wanted them to be able to reach for a gun, pull out, and shoot the officer for having not done the procedural stuff with dedication and commitment.
Yeah.
And that gun was what we used for that. The guy who sold them to us, and I wish I could remember his name because I praise him big time, ultimately told me that he had cancer. And this is about 15, 20 years ago. And he said he wasn't going to make them anymore. So I bought a box of them to try to get us through whatever would take. And
I think we've got your box now. So
well, I'll tell you, one of the airsoft guys, they loved them. So one of the airsoft guys came down, and I don't think I ever got those back. I think maybe paid for them. I'm not sure, but he was so intent on having a couple for his airsoft endeavors.
Yeah.
So we had quite a few, and the guy was, once again, praise goes to him. If karma is a thing, I hope he has great karma, because he certainly did us well, and it was a well-engineered little gun.
Yeah, I think it is. It's they've kind of stood the test of time as well. And I remember getting a solo when I first
Oh,
started here, and that was one of the things. I used to carry it down the back of my shirt, and I used it straight in that way. You know, when we played our scenario
yeah.
games, you know, it was like, yeah, I would walk away with my hands up. It was like a little bit of a bone of contention with the rest of the team. You know, like if I've got my hands up as if I've been shot or I'm giving up, should I really be able to pull that out the back and shoot somebody?
Ah,
Yeah.
in our
So
world, yeah, yeah,
yes, in your
in my
world,
world,
but
yeah,
yeah,
they fulfilled those and rubber knives did us a world of service. We found a
yeah,
guy named Sharky, and you've got some Sharky knives. They were made out of recycled bottles, pop bottles. And
uh,
Sharky, his real name escapes me too, and I just saw him on the internet a couple months back. But he was a martial artist, and he trained a knife course. So between rubber knives and those and a couple other guns, we could portray a pretty dangerous situation,
yeah,
and learn from that situation, so that maybe in a real life encounter it would end differently.
yeah. See, these were something else that I didn't realize the Goblin came with. There's three different kinds of, and I'm assuming that these uh, these shells are different calibers, maybe. You know, 60. If I haven't bore sized them or anything, but I'm assuming that that's what they are.
I think they were, and then we had some instructions on how to use BBs, plastic BBs, 6 millimeter
That's
BBs. Yeah,
that's this one.
yep.
This one fires. I
There you
guess
go.
you could probably get like there's four tubes, and you could probably get about three BBs in each
Yeah,
tube. So yeah, you'd get quite a little bit of airsoft splatter with that one.
yep.
So yeah,
Yeah, they were a real gift to us when we found them.
yeah.
So
But yeah, they are awesome. You know, I love this stuff, and I love everything you got. There is this next one is why I've kept this last one that we got from you, because it's just a beauty. I don't know if you'll even know what one I'm going to be talking about, but
no,
what
yeah.
isn't that just sexy?
Oh, so if
A
you
golden
find
a
a
golden
jacket that's, I think
Zeus.
it says Makovats, President of Makovats. We had,
Yeah,
when I was doing college classes. Now these were a little different. I would do a medic class as an overseas contractor. The medic would have an armed component, and so we would put them in UN type endeavors. And there was always a big shot. Uh, I forget his name, President something or other. Anyway, he was the president of the Republic of Magovats, and he had that gold pistol in a Russian-style holster as he went about his administrative duties. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I think
and
it's.
I got to say, like it fits beautifully.
Yeah, I think I did uh, a little razor blade work on that. But yeah, that's. And I got to tell you, that gun was more beautiful than functional. All of the guns, and I know you got several of them there. I had to rotate out after about a year because they wouldn't keep air, and they were really good about sending me new chambers. I don't valves. So
Yeah,
I ended up getting a lot of valves, but it started. They just weren't the guns that were being made, so they became kind of a showcase gun. And might I think it was probably a 50-50 chance they would shoot if you pulled them on somebody and started screaming and yelling. So we didn't really lean on them as much as we'd like to. They were, I think they were a gun in the process of getting to better guns.
uh, I'm going to see if that one actually works this year. We're going to oil it up, grease it up, and take it
Oh,
back
that'd
out
be
and see if it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I can
Send
just
me
see pulling a big golden gun on the field. That's or marker. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that. That would be that'd be really cool. Send me a video or tell me when you're doing it, just so I can
yeah.
find out if they're still working. Because, like I said, I had a box of them, and for a while, like we probably got a good 6-7 months out of them before they all started hissing and
Yeah.
spitting CO2 all over the place.
I'm just going to I'm going to show you one more that's in our kind of one more that's in our kind of collection. I don't know if you ever see the Mod 85.
Yep.
Did you ever get them down there? We in Canada here, we can't get the fully auto version. This is semi-auto, and what they fire, there's a percussion cap on the back, and a 37 mil paintball, I believe it is.
Yep.
And they just spit sparks, but you couldn't hit somebody that's 2 or 3 feet away if you tried.
So I have a little bit of an endeavor with that. If I gave you a book that had a lot of our research material, and if you were to go through that page by page, you would find the early ad for that gun, because we thought it had potential. It could be holstered. There were some things we liked about it, but ultimately, other guns started to surface about the time we were ready to purchase, and we got distracted and ended up with other guns. I really, really liked, and these are the early days. I loved being married to 68 caliber. If I could find every gun, if I could find a knife that shot 68 caliber, I probably would have invested in that. Just because we were a traveling circus, so we would get a contract to teach a course at a police department. Then we usually go to a fairgrounds or an abandoned church or a trailer park that they're destroying, and we would create scenarios within those environments. So we had to have, and so if we had a bunch of different calibers and different makes and models, it always became a bit of a problem. So I like 68 caliber. Now, there are better tools out there these days to recreate real encounters, but I would still argue that sometimes if you're just trying to create the emotional ongoings, the emotional connection to a violent encounter, 68 caliber paintball guns, you could, I mean, with the right role players, you can do a pretty damn good job.
Yes, you can. But we do it. I think the boys and that on the Tactical Captain Challenge, we do it.
Yep.
You know, we love that. It's 68 caliber just seems right.
Yeah.
You know, we get the other caliber. We got the 43s and we've got the 50 cals, but 68 just has it.
Well, it lands with authority. Very few people will argue that they haven't been hit, particularly in our working environment. There's a psychological component to feeling the thud, and you got to work through that, because in my world, you can't give up. I mean, if you give up, somebody executes you. So you have to fight through everything. We have a standing rule that police officers, I don't care if you got hit 100 times, you will bring this to a conclusion through fighting. If you were a bad guy, if you got hit once, you will concede to the wound and take a knee and roll onto your stomach and then, you know, scream and yell, you shot me, how unfair the world is. So
I just wanted to pick that one up while we were still on the old 80s models and all that. We're up to about 29 minutes so far. So we tried to, this time flies. We were trying to keep it to 20 minutes, but we just get talking. You know, it's like old friends getting together. You know, we could probably go on for this all night. And like I was saying earlier, we met. When you met Steve from the Unnamed, and a lot of those guys down at Skyline, a lot of those guys we've interviewed already. We're going to have Reed coming on here pretty soon on another evening, and the time just goes by. So I think what we're going to have to do is have another segment at another time.
Yeah.
But what I do want to do before we go, I want to talk about your connection with the ops gear.
Oh, I would love to speak to it. A lot of this stuff I've got to do from memory, so you know, if dates don't really jive, I don't need a fact checker getting a hold of me and saying, no, it wasn't 1997, it was 1994. Okay, I concede. So my brother David Burnell was in the midst of doing a transitional piece from the corporate world, and he like I always loved gear, and he like I was raised playing, we used to play rubber band wars with rubber band
Yeah.
guns with my dad in the backyard. So we
Yeah.
had this kind of ongoing experience. So I went to him with a 68 caliber marking gun. It was a line SI gun, and it was very streamlined and not very heavy, and it shot really well. And I sat it down and I put a template over, and I said, I need you to make this gun cumbersome. I needed to have protrusions like a magazine. I needed to reflect a real firearm and not be so easy to wield in a small environment. And he kind of scratched his head, and I explained why. And he said, okay, well, that started the conversation about gear and guns, which
Yeah.
with much work on his part, much work on his part. And he had his own directions going in that particular area too, prior to me, and or indifferent to my desires. But from that point on, he started to build ops gear. And the key thing about ops gear, in my opinion, is that he would take airsoft guns from China, which were really unreliable back in those days, and he would mesh them with 68 caliber paintball guns and
Oh
come out
yeah.
with a product. And then my dad, who retired from the Los Angeles Police Department, started helping him build those. And then once he started building those, he fell out of love with the plastic components and wanted to do them in aluminum. So he started an engineering component, and got an engineer, really quite a good engineer, to start building the overall metal versions of those
Yeah.
guns. And that's what Ops Gear for 10, 15 years was known for, was their paintball guns that look like MP5s. They look like Kalashnikovs. They look like, and then companies like Tippmann rolled in and with big pockets and lots of resources, and said, hey, you want to build one of these? We can build it pretty easy. And they started cranking those out. And I think the market kind of went in that direction. But I would say with absolute commitment, my brother was a pioneer into that area.
I think
Long,
Obscure still has a huge following.
yeah, good,
You know,
good.
I don't know if your brother's still around, is he?
He is. He's still around, and he runs a thing called Camo HQ, which is
Okay.
a variety of different camouflage. If you needed camouflage from the Second World War, blah blah blah, Third Infantry, blah blah blah, paratroopers, he probably could either make it, find it,
Really?
or print it for you. So yeah, so he's still in the industry over there. Other, I mean, environmental things made obscure. He had a huge 3-unit storage facility that was turned into a city, an interior Middle Eastern city that was just unbelievable training
Yeah.
environment. Just crazy. You can still find the videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
but he did some fantastic training out of that place.
He does some fantastic shrouds and stuff for the gut
Yeah.
for the markers. He's like the stuff was quality. I know Tippmann started to bring it all out at the same time, but I think that's why Obscure really had its following, because it was a better quality than what Tippmann could bring out at that time. And I think Tippmann was probably one of the only other makers on the market. I mean, we used to get all the shrouds for the A5s and
Yeah.
the 98s, but they were the ones that we wanted. Obscure was what we wanted. The Obscure patches is what we wanted. I just gave a couple of patches to the guys from Devil's Legion in Winnipeg. They would have come down to Skyline, so you would have met them guys down there as well.
Oh.
And Dan and Lonnie, they're all about the Obscure stuff. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody with another Obscure challenge coin. So, and I can't even find any of these on the internet.
David went through several variations. The one that I prized, he made one with SG5, my training company, on one
That's right,
side,
yeah.
and Opgear on the other side, and that was cool. That was the brother back to back kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then So the thing to remember for those who care is I was a full-time police officer and a member of the department SWAT team, simultaneously running an international training company. So, I could only throw 2 or 3 days a week at training, whereas David had the ability to throw 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So his volume and his progression and his refinement was really good.
Yeah.
And he went through a bunch of transitions with the coins, shirts, marketing, branding, so on and so forth. But I would say this about David: if you were going to take a paintball gun and work your way into a conflict, a playful conflict that mimicked a military experience, Obscure was the place. I mean, my God,
Yeah.
from plastic Go Fast helmets to masks that worked in conjunction with Go Fast helmets, to reloads, to vests with pockets that would hold a 68 caliber magazine in contrast to an authentic real steel magazine. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you could do that without Obscure.
No.
And I'm talking specifically in the 90s and the early
Yeah.
2000s. I don't know.
I don't,
He,
that was definitely that got me into more of the tactical side of it, because I just, you know, I'd seen all the space guns out there before and the bright colors and all this, and it just wasn't my thing until I started to see. We went to a store in Medicine Hat and I saw this one up there and I went, "Ooh, that looks like a real gun," you know. And I was pretty fresh out of the army at that time as well, and I thought, I want to do this. You know, it's not space gun related
yeah,
and whatever.
yeah, it speaks to your experiences.
Yeah. Do we think would you be able to get your brother on one of these sections one night?
Oh, absolutely. I think he would do it.
Let's
I
give him
think,
a plug as well for his
okay.
camouflage stuff as well. Totally, you know, if he can bring some of that along, or wherever he gets in on our conversation, you know, have some of his camouflage stuff there. I'm all for small business. You know, I'm all for, let's get it out there. You know, we work hard.
Well, there's probably 100 people, and I'm being kind of gracious here, but there's probably 100 people in the paintball industry over the last 40 years that have steered it in one direction or the other. And I would absolutely positively put my brother in the top 25%.
Oh
I
yeah,
think he had a bigger impact than I did. I was content just taking care of my 10, 15, 20 students, making sure they had a good experience, going back and refining their response to violence. So
yeah.
that's all. David, on the other hand, was making guns and sending them all over the world. And
That's
remember the Obscure posters? I would look at a poster and
yeah,
it would just make me want to play paintball. It would be like four guys stacked at the door, getting ready to go in, all in it
yeah.
with 68 caliber marking guns, and flashbangs. And I'd be like, damn, that is just cool stuff.
And some of the patches were just the silhouette with the that's what, yeah, that's what, once we saw them it was a, yeah, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
And I think you're not giving him enough credit there. I would say he was definitely above the 25% category. You know, when
Well,
somebody has heard of your company, whether you're in Germany or England or Canada or whatever, and they've heard of Obscure, and you can narrow it down to one person, then yeah, he's way up there in more than the 25%.
Yeah.
yeah, you're probably right. I saw a guy wearing one of his shirts. I think I was in Italy. And I looked over there's Obscure shirt, and I'm like, wow. You know,
Yeah,
That's cool.
I found an SG5 hat, my company, SG5. I found an SG5 hat at a thrift store. Somebody had decided they didn't want it. They probably earned it in a training exercise. They were probably a little butthurt because they got shot a couple times, and they
yeah.
told them not to get shot anymore. So they probably just handed the hat off to the thrift store. So there's quite a contrast. Somebody who buys a T-shirt and wears it in Italy, and somebody who takes a hat from my company and puts it in a thrift store. But oh
Oh,
well,
that's,
life is
yeah.
life.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do here, because we've got to 40 minutes spot on right now, I'm just going to pause the screen recording I'm doing, and we can carry on chatting for a bit. So just bear with me.